You're stuck in the loop of endless revisions, the fear of inadequacy paralyzing your next move. That project, that idea, that conversation, it lingers unfinished because it's not perfect. You feel it in your body, a tightening in the chest, a shallow breath, a subtle but persistent hum of anxiety. Your nervous system is caught in a low-grade fight-or-flight response, convinced that releasing anything less than flawless will lead to some form of catastrophe, rejection, criticism, failure. This isn't about laziness. It's the mind's protective mechanism, a cognitive distortion known in CBT as all-or-nothing thinking, which has hijacked your creative process. It whispers that if your work isn't a masterpiece, it's worthless. This binary trap paradoxically prevents you from moving forward, from learning, from growing. The very mechanism designed to protect you from failure is guaranteeing it by ensuring you never complete the task at all. Your brain's amygdala, the ancient alarm system, cannot tell the difference between the threat of a predator and the threat of a critical email. To it, the potential for social judgment feels like a genuine survival risk, and so it floods your system with cortisol, the stress hormone that shuts down higher-level creative thinking and locks you into a state of hypervigilant analysis. You are literally too stressed to finish the work you are stressing about. Here, the Roman statesman and philosopher Seneca offers a profound reframe, a way to deactivate this internal alarm. He wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare, but because we do not dare that they are difficult." He understood that the barrier is not the task itself, but our perception of it. His philosophy provides a powerful antidote to the tyranny of the external outcome. He proposes that the value of an action isn't solely in its outcome, but in the virtuous effort and intention you bring to it. For a Stoic, virtue isn't about moral piety. It's about acting with reason, integrity, and courage. Seneca, a man who had to constantly ship his work in the high-stakes world of Roman politics, knew that waiting for perfect external conditions or universal approval was a recipe for inaction. True worth, he argued, comes from within. It is derived from your best effort, guided by your best judgment at this specific moment in time. It is an internal metric, immune to the whims of public opinion. We call this powerful principle the virtue stamp. It is the act of sealing your work not with the guarantee of perfection, but with the mark of your sincere and focused effort. The micro method, the virtue stamp ritual. This is not a metaphor. It is a concrete psychological exercise. When you reach a point of good enough, a point where further tweaking yields diminishing returns, where you are polishing for the sake of polishing, you must interrupt the pattern. First, pause. Physically stop what you are doing. Step away from the screen. Second, take one conscious grounding breath. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 6. This is a direct command to your vagus nerve, signaling to your nervous system that the perceived threat is over. You are moving from the reactive amygdala to the responsive prefrontal cortex. Third, you apply the stamp. You can do this mentally or even physically with a small, deliberate gesture, a tap on the desk, a closing of the laptop, a nod to yourself. As you do this, you make a clear internal declaration. This is the product of my best effort right now, with the resources, knowledge, and energy I possess. My intention was virtuous. My effort was sincere. It is complete. This is not an admission of sloppiness. It is a powerful declaration of agency. It is about declaring completion based on internal standard of integrity, not an imagined, unattainable external standard. The neuroscience here is compelling. This simple ritual acts as a cognitive circuit breaker. By consciously shifting your focus from the unpredictable realm of external judgment to the controllable realm of internal integrity, you are performing a core function of cognitive behavioral therapy, cognitive reframing. You are actively challenging and replacing the distorted thought with a rational, self-validating one. This shift from fear to self-trust reduces the production of cortisol and allows for the release of dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated not just with reward, but with the motivation and satisfaction. You are quite literally teaching your brain that good enough is not a synonym for failure, but a necessary and rewarding component of progress. Each time you apply the virtue stamp, you are carving a new neural pathway, making it easier to complete the next task and the one after that. You are building a habit of shipping your work. Do this today. Find one task, however small, that you have been delaying due to perfectionism. It could be an email, a paragraph, a single slide in a presentation. Work on it until it meets the standard of good enough. Then perform the ritual. Pause, breathe, and stamp it with virtue. Declare it complete and release it. Hit send, save the final version, tell your colleague it's ready. Pay close attention to the immediate shift you feel in your body and mind, the transition from the tense energy of anxious stagnation to the calm, forward-moving energy of productive flow. What is the one thing you will stamp with virtue today? From that practice of stamping your work, a new, more subtle anxiety often emerges. You have released your project into the world, but now you face the echo chamber of potential judgment. The work is done, but your mind is not. It races, anticipating criticism, bracing for negative feedback, or worse, indifference. This is the vulnerability hangover, the feeling of being exposed. Your brain, ever the diligent protector, begins running simulations of social failure. What will they think? Did I miss a crucial error? Will they understand my intention? This state of hypervigilance keeps your cortisol levels elevated, preventing you from fully disengaging and moving on to the next important task. You have won the battle against perfectionism, but now you are at war with the specter of perception. This fear is natural, but left unchecked, it will poison the well of your accomplishment and make you hesitate the next time you need to apply the virtue stamp. You might find yourself compulsively checking for replies, seeking validation, or interpreting silence as confirmation of your worst fears. This is the second layer of the perfectionist trap, outsourcing your sense of worth to the uncontrollable reactions of others. To fortify your mind against this siege, we turn to the wisdom of Epictetus, a former slave who became one of the most revered Stoic teachers. His entire philosophy is built upon a single, foundational principle of immense power, the dichotomy of control. He stated it with clarifying simplicity. Some things are within our power, while others are not. Within our power are our own judgments, intentions, and actions. Outside our power, crucially, are the opinions, reactions, and interpretations of other people. Your virtuous effort was within your control. The quality of your work, up to the point of the stamp, was within your control. The reception of that work is, and always will be, entirely outside of it. Trying to manage what others think is, for Epictetus, the very definition of insanity. It is like trying to command the wind or the tides. It is a futile expenditure of your most precious resources, your attention and your peace of mind. The anxiety you feel is the direct result of focusing your energy on the outer circle, the one you can never, ever control. The micro method, the control audit. This is a practical tool for reclaiming your focus and calming your nervous system. Take a piece of paper or open a new document. At the top, write down the specific fear that is consuming you. Now draw 2 columns. Label the first column within my control and the second outside my control. Systematically dissect your fear. Every anxious thought, every what if, must be sorted into one of these 2 columns. For instance, under outside my control, you will list things like what my boss thinks of the final slide, whether a client will misinterpret a sentence, if a colleague will be jealous, the final outcome of the project, being liked or approved of. This column will likely be long, and that is the point. You are externalizing the noise and seeing it for what it is, uncontrollable. Now turn your full attention to the first column, within my control. What can you list here? how I respond to feedback if it comes, preparing clarifying points in case there are questions, the integrity with which I did the work, starting my next task with focus, treating myself with compassion regardless of the outcome. This is more than just a list. It is a profound neurological intervention. Neuroscientist Alex Korb notes that the simple act of making a decision and creating a plan, even a small one, can reduce anxiety and worry. By sorting these anxieties, you are telling your prefrontal cortex to take charge. You are shifting brain activity from the limbic system's emotional runaway fear loop to a state of executive function and problem solving. Your brain stops wasting precious glucose and cognitive bandwidth on the unsolvable problems in the outside my control column. This act of categorization has been shown in CBT studies to significantly lower cortisol levels. The feeling of being overwhelmed subsides, replaced by a sense of mobilized focus. You have a plan. Your energy is no longer scattered trying to control the uncontrollable. It is now laser-focused on the few, powerful actions that are truly yours to command. You are not ignoring reality. You are strategically engaging with it. You are building what the Stoics called your inner citadel, a fortress of tranquility that cannot be breached by external events. Do this today. Take the project you applied the virtue stamp to and perform a control audit on your post-completion anxieties. Be ruthlessly honest in your sorting. Once your list is complete, ceremonially cross out the entire outside my control column. Then choose just one single actionable item from the within my control and do it immediately. This act reinforces your agency and starves the anxiety of the attention it needs to survive. You have stamped your work. Now you must fortify your mind. How does it feel to consciously redirect your focus only to what you can command? Building on that fortified mindset, you've now separated what you can control from what you cannot. You've released your work and have a plan to manage your own response. But what happens when the uncontrollable arrives? What do you do when the negative feedback you feared actually lands in your inbox, or the criticism is delivered in a meeting? The automatic, untrained reaction is to feel attacked. The sympathetic nervous system flares up once again. Your heart rate increases, your muscles tense, and your mind floods with defensive thoughts. The inner critic joins the external one, whispering, "I told you so. You're not good enough." This is the moment where all your progress can be undone. If you allow this external judgment to breach the walls of your inner citadel, you will be more hesitant, more fearful, and more of a perfectionist the next time. The entire cycle of anxiety will begin again, only stronger. Resisting this reaction is the final and most advanced stage of this practice. Here we turn to the ultimate Stoic practitioner, the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius. Writing in his private journal, he gave himself this powerful instruction: "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is one of the most transformative ideas in all of philosophy. For Marcus, an obstacle, a criticism, a failure is not a roadblock. It is raw material. It is information. It is a gift. He believed that a rational mind could take any external event, no matter how seemingly negative, and use it as fuel for virtue, for wisdom, for patience, for improvement. The critic in this Stoic reframing is not an enemy to be defended against. They are an unwitting teacher offering you a valuable data set. Their feedback, whether delivered skillfully or poorly, contains information that is either true, false, or a matter of opinion. In all three cases, you can benefit. If the feedback is true, the critic has given you a free lesson on how to improve. If it is false, it is an opportunity to practice patience and to be secure in your own assessment. If it is a matter of opinion, it is a chance to practice indifference to things outside your control. The micro method, the feedback filter. When you receive criticism, do not react immediately. This is crucial. The initial emotional flare is a physiological reaction, not a rational assessment. You must create a space between the stimulus and your response. Use a simple three-step filtering process inspired by Marcus Aurelius. 1. Isolate the data. Read or listen to the feedback and strip away all the emotional language, the tone, and your own insecure projections. Hunt for the specific, objective information. Instead of, your presentation was confusing and uninspired, isolate the data. The connection between slide 4 and slide 5 was unclear to at least one person. Instead of, this report is sloppy, find the data, there are 2 typos on page 3 and the chart on page 7 is missing a label. This depersonalizes the feedback and turns it from an attack into a simple observation. 2. Sort for truth. Take the isolated data and ask, is this objectively true, partially true, or a matter of subjective opinion? This requires radical honesty. Your ego will want to label everything as opinion. Resist this. If the feedback points to a factual error or a genuine area for improvement, acknowledge it as true. If it's about stylistic preference or something you disagree with on principle, label it opinion. 3. Define the action. For every piece of data you label true, define one small, controllable action you can take to improve next time. This converts the criticism into a practical lesson. For everything labeled opinion, your defined action is to consciously practice indifference. Remind yourself, this is outside my control. Their preference is not a reflection of my worth. I will let this go. This filtering process is a direct application of mindfulness and CBT's decatastrophizing techniques. By pausing and analyzing the feedback, you are keeping your prefrontal cortex online and preventing an amygdala hijack. You are transforming a perceived threat into a structured learning opportunity. This practice, over time, completely rewires your relationship with criticism. It builds profound psychological resilience. You begin to welcome feedback even when it's poorly delivered because you have a system for extracting value from it. Your self-worth becomes uncoupled from external praise or blame. It is anchored firmly in your own virtuous process, your effort, your integrity, and your commitment to growth. You have moved from a fragile ego that needs to be perfect to an anti-fragile mind that gets stronger from every challenge. Apply this today. Think of the last piece of criticism you received. Run it through the feedback filter. Isolate the data, sort it for truth, and define your action or inaction. Feel how this structured process drains the emotional charge from the memory. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are an alchemist, turning the lead of criticism into the gold of wisdom. You have stamped your work with virtue, shielded your mind with control, and now you can use any obstacle as the path forward. This is the discipline of the Stoic. This is the foundation of inner peace.